I was going to say hold your applause till the end, and then you didn't. So well done, folks. First of all, thank you for being here. We've been here now for a couple years, Alan and I, as part of a partnership between Hustling Sideways and the 707 Hub. This podcast is all about talking about people who have side passions and hustles and want to go after them. And it's been a really natural fit with Patrick and the team here. We're really thrilled to be back. We have someone that we've been trying to get for a long time, and I'm so glad it worked out tonight. And we're excited for a really cool conversation, talking a little bit about Travis's past and what he did after college and why all that matters. And we're excited to have some Q&A at the end. So on that note, welcome to Hustling Sideways. And this is where I'm going to applause again, because that's usually what we do. It's your shtick thing. Travis, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Kick us off, man.
Yeah, as I say, so let's talk about what we've said here is that, of course, we talk about side projects, having a side hustle, passion projects, things like that. But before we really get into that, let's talk about your past and how you got to Marquette. So give some people some backstory on what brought you here initially.
Back in the day, as we've
back in the day.
Yeah.
That's how I'll date myself, because I'm a little older than everyone in here. I grew up in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, which is about 60 miles north of here. And so, I had a passion for basketball and baseball and football growing up. And then, as you get older and older, you start getting recruited by different colleges, and I was fortunate enough to get recruited by Marquette. They were one of my 5 final schools, along with Wisconsin, Illinois, Utah, and St. Louis. I took official visits to 4 of those 5 schools and just felt like this was the best. I wanted a smaller type university. I come from a really close-knit family, and this fit kind of the ideals that I wanted in my experience in college. And obviously, most of my decision-making in the college I wanted to attend had to do with basketball. So Coach Crane was incredibly influential person for me before I got to college and recruiting me, and then during my college career, and still is today. So he was the main reason I probably chose to come here, along with being only 60 miles from home. I wanted my parents, my sisters to be able to watch me play. 20, 25 years ago, it was a little harder to stream games and things like that.
Yeah. Did you ever have, when you got on campus, I know like a lot of times athletes talk about like the welcome to this stage moment of like getting hit or having a practice that just like really sucked or something that was super hard. Did you have a moment like that of like, wow, this is another level of basketball and it's time to buck up?
Yeah, I think initially, everyone can see that I'm not the biggest or strongest or tallest guy. So, I was always pinned, and I think this was on purpose from coaches. We'd have these individual workouts or small group workouts where I was always going against our senior point guard, who was a really good player, Cordell Henry, and he kind of matched us up. And I knew instantly, this was a different level than high school basketball, and there's a different preparation that goes into it, a different physicality, a different speed. But I prided myself on being super competitive and finding a way to get better. And he was helpful in just kind of kicking my butt early on in my career here. It made me better. And so, but when you make steps, whether that's athletically or, in the business world, step up, you keep trying to get better and better. It's going to be harder and harder. But I've always, like I said, prided myself in being super competitive and doing whatever it took to get better.
Sure. On the converse side of that, did you have a moment when you were a student athlete, you were playing, that you felt like, okay, this is where I belong here? You know what I mean? Like, I belong in the starting role now. Like, was there one particular moment that you kind of felt like, okay, I proved myself? Like, I should be here now?
Yeah, I mean, I was always, I think when people watch me play, they say I played pretty confidently, bordering on, arrogance, I think, a little bit. And for me, it was always, like I talked about before, it was, I was never the biggest guy or the strongest guy. So I think my mentality had to be that, nobody was going to outwork me. No one was going to be better than me. And then very early on in my college career, I had a couple really good games. So I felt like, okay, I can play at this level. But, people asked me, did you ever think about playing in the NBA? And even when I was a little kid, it was never a dream of mine. It was, my uncle was my high school basketball coach, and I thought that was like the NBA. Like, I just want to play for him. I just want to have a good high school career. I really never thought about playing in college until it got to a point where, people started recruiting me. And then I got here and, I have a couple, a pretty good freshman year, and then the sophomore year, obviously we go to the Final Four. And then it's like, well, you have a chance to potentially, make a living playing basketball. But it never really crossed my mind because I think I was so focused in the present and not getting too far ahead of myself.
Yeah, and I'm sure that so obviously you have your run, and college was a really good experience for you. When did playing after college? When did that really start? Like, was that maybe junior year or senior year when you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and actually go and get drafted? Like, that's got to be such an anxious feeling. And I know I've heard so many draft night stories of, am I going to go? What was that process like? Did you get an agent? So many things that we don't even know about. Is not being there.
Yeah, I mean, it's well documented. We had a really good team my sophomore year. That year, went to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
I remember after we lost to Kansas in the Final Four, a reporter asked me if I was going to declare for the draft. And I thought he was mocking me. I was laughed at him. No, I'm coming back to Marquette because Dwayne was going to enter the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I came back for my final 2 years, and midway through my senior year, I had agents contact me, but you couldn't really talk to them until after your season. So I had Coach Green handle that, and then after the season signed with an agent. I had broken my hand my senior year, so I couldn't really go through a lot of the pre-draft stuff. But I had signed with an agent, and he was pretty convinced after my pre-draft workouts with individual teams that I had a pretty good chance to get drafted. And I told my parents own a sports bar up in Fond du Lac, and they wanted to invite all these people and have this big draft party. And I had talked to my agent, well, am I going to get drafted? I'm not going to be the guy sitting there watching and not get drafted. He said, well, I think there's a 95% chance that I get drafted. So yeah, that was one of my most nerve-wracking days of my life, just waiting for my name to get called. Fortunately, it happened early in the second round, so turned out to be pretty memorable.
Yeah. So you're transitioning, to the NBA. What did you take from Marquette in the experience here that you brought with you into the pros? This could be mentally, this could be spiritually, athletically. What were some of the things that you really held on to that helped you? Because I know being an athlete, a pro, I don't know, but I've heard being a pro athlete. I have it too. You know that.
3 years.
That's right. Yeah, I played rec league here. It was great, but it can be taxing. A number of ways. What did you really have a base off of coming from Marquette and going into the league?
I think just a sense of community and relationships, and types of friendships I had built with my teammates and other classmates and other athletes, and just use that. Mentally it can be really hard in the NBA because I was a player that early on in my career didn't play a lot, and I was always fighting for minutes. So it can be a long and lonely season. You're not the NBA is a business, and you're not really super close with your teammates because everyone's, going their own way. Some people are married, some people are really young, some people have kids. So for me, going out on my own, and I got drafted by Orlando. So living in Orlando, you're kind of out on an island. You're not playing a lot. So it can become very taxing mentally. Physically, the same issues going from high school to college, from college to NBA. It's, a lot more, it's faster, it's more physical. Those are the same challenges. But mentally, I found that not as many people genuinely care about you because it is a business. So I figured that out real quick, and relied on my relationships, with my family, with people back here, and the first games I always circle on the calendar with the times I got to come back and play the Bucks and be around people that made me feel pretty good.
Nice, very cool. We should also talk a little bit too about the business side of going pro, because like you said, you got to get an agent, and it's kind of goes hand in hand now with some of the work that you're doing. But when you're in college and you're playing, and you have a shot at this and making this your career, how do you put trust into somebody that, what were you looking for in your agent to kind of trust you with your business dealings? Because we've seen a lot of guys where they get out of, they go play pro for a couple of years, and then a few years later they're not making a ton of money, or they don't have a ton of money saved. So what was that experience like, trying to put trust into an agent and say, I hope that he's going to have my business dealings in order while I just handle business on the court?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm pretty fortunate and pretty grounded from my childhood with my parents, and my process of dealing with agents, and I sat down with probably 5 or 6 of them, and they give you all the pardon my language, all the bullshit, and they tell you how great you are. I have a pretty good understanding of what was real and what was not real. And so the guy I chose was the guy I thought that was telling me the truth, the hard truths, and what he was going to be able to do for me. And I had him throughout my whole career. So I made a great decision to come to Marquette. It was probably the best decision I ever made. But signing with him as an agent was also incredibly beneficial for me because I felt like he always had my back. And I just thought that he told me the truth in the very beginning, kind of like what happened, when I was getting recruited to play college basketball. I don't care, what you tell me, just tell me what the truth is. As a player, as a man, and I'll respect you. I might not agree with you, but he always told me the truth, and I've appreciated that about him.
I appreciate that perspective because I think, for as entrepreneurs and folks that are trying to get something done, you have to surround yourself with good people. And to find someone that can be direct and honest with you, it could be hard to hear the truth sometimes, when we feel like we have it, but you need to hear that. And you found that clearly, and it worked out really well. I'm thinking as you go in the NBA and you start thinking like going overseas, right? And when does that start getting in your head that you can go somewhere else and play? And how does that process work? Because I don't think a lot of people know about that. When you, and I think you're an Italian citizen now as well. And so what goes into this process of moving and picking up and trying to play basketball somewhere else?
Yeah, it was after my fifth year in the NBA, and I had kind of gotten to a point where I wasn't playing a lot. And with me and being as competitive as I am, I had to decide: do I want to be the 10th, 11th, 12th man on the team, or do I want to go and experience something totally different and try to play internationally? So I decided, and what was funny is I had an opportunity to actually sign with the Bucks, but I would have been the third point guard, so probably the 12th or 13th man. Or I had an opportunity to go to Italy to sign with this team that my cousin had actually played for, the coach. He said, if you're going to do it, you should go play for this guy. He'd be great for you as a coach, and you fit exactly what he would want. And I decided, I got married a year before that, so I talked with my wife, and there was 3 countries that we really wanted to go to. So it was Italy. She's Italian, so it's Italy, Spain, and Germany were the 3. And you don't need to know everything about international basketball, but those are 3 of the better countries to make a living over there 20 years or 15 years ago. And we found this team in Italy, and it was. I keep talking about great decisions. It was an incredible decision because I had such a great time over there and played for a wonderful coach, and we had our kids, a couple of our kids over there. So it was very enlightening, and you learn to appreciate different cultures, different people. And moments like that were really special for me and my family.
I love that. And I guess to acknowledge, though, you're leaving everything that you knew here. And I think an important piece of this is as entrepreneurs and people that have a passion, when you're following it as deeply as you wanted to, you're competitive. You want to play what you want. You love the game. You got to go some places that may be different and outside of your comfort zone. Did you struggle at all when you got there, or did you feel like you fit in pretty quickly? You probably had a really good support system at home, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really hard decision. I went back and forth. My parents and family were not happy with me because they're like, you could stay here, you go to play for the Milwaukee Bucks, you could see the game. I'm like, well, I mean, you can see me clapping. And it's like, and then you're on the bench, and the only way you're really getting in is if, first off, one of the 2 players ahead of you plays bad, so you're not wishing for that, or somebody gets hurt, you're not wishing for that. So it's like, I was always really realistic on who I was as a person, and more importantly, who I was as a basketball player. And so I was like, well, I want to go play, and I'm going to go play. And I made that decision. And then, getting over there, yeah, it's a culture shock at first. It wasn't the life that it is in the NBA. You're not staying in 5-star hotels. You're not traveling like that. It's a different language. It was totally different. And then, 3 weeks into when I got there, I tore my hamstring. So it was like, it was really challenging early. But I had my wife with me, and she spoke Italian. She made it a lot easier, and ended up being the best 4 years of our lives to that point. It was just incredibly fulfilling.
That's awesome. More importantly, did they have Miller Lite?
They did not have Miller Lite.
So that's a problem. No, yeah, I could see why that was. That's probably was the most difficult part for you, I would imagine.
Oh, I mean, There's light beers, it's just not Miller Lite.
It's fair enough. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit too about now what you're doing here with Marquette as well. You're involved with the NIL kind of conglomerate. What's the best way to kind of describe the Be the Difference group that you guys?
Yeah, that started a few years ago, and it's been so ever changing with the landscape of NIL, and it's totally changing now because of revenue sharing, which Marquette University can start compensating the student athletes. 3 years ago, I was the executive director of this collective called NIL, which would be the difference, where people could donate into this fund. What we did differently is we set up as a nonprofit, so all the student athletes would have to go throughout the community and do events with nonprofits, and then they'd be compensated through the collective. It's a little different now, as I said, with the revenue sharing that's happening across college sports. So my role will definitely be changing here in the near future. And it's anyone's guess what's going to happen with everything. It's changed so much, and it seems like it changes every month or two.
Yeah, and I know a big part of what you do too is a lot of mentoring, of young athletes. You're still kind of a staple within the program. How does it change now? I'm thinking, let's say 15 years ago, mentoring athletes when this doesn't exist. When it's sort of athletes picking a school and a coach and perhaps staying there for a while. Do you see a different mindset with students now coming and picking a school, and perhaps they're doing it for money, maybe not here necessarily, but what does that do for you as you're have your finger on the pulse of athletes today, and how does the message change for them?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it. I think the first question a lot of players and a lot of the families are asking is how much, and it's become a business. It's become more than just you're going to a school. For me, for the closeness to proximity to home or the coach or the community, it's one of the first few questions is going to be, well, what can you do for me financially? And probably rightfully so. That's where we're at. So like the questions I would ask the student athletes is, you got to kind of think of this long term, and always like, what kind of relationships can you build here at Marquette? And we've done an incredible job of maintaining our players. And, I think it helps the school, it helps the community. As a former player, as an alumni, you get to see kids grow. You get to see people grow up right in front of you. And at the end of the day, if you can not have a short-term perspective and really, look 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I'm a perfect example of that. I've made a living after basketball being a part of this community because I stayed here. I've been ingrained with people here. I live, 15 minutes from here. I have 4 kids now. So it's like, the people here will always take care of you. It's a different type of college, a different type of school where you don't need to jump around and try to find the best deal. The best deal could be 10 years from now or 15 years from now. You just have to have the right perspective, I think.
Totally.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah. As I'm thinking about some of the players that you've really worked with, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that someone who probably reminded you of you was Tyler Kolek, and someone that, and I know it's, some of you remember Tyler as being a big player here. What was that relationship like? Because I feel like every now and then I would sort of hear you be involved a little bit, but there was always some level of like you and Tyler really reminded. Like I would watch him play, and I'm like, that looks a lot like Travis, And what was that like for you? Was it kind of cool feeling like oh, I have a someone who really reminds me of me in a way?
Yeah. I mean, I remember Shaka had me call him when he was recruiting him initially, him and his father, and he was really quiet, and I was essentially speaking to his father. But then getting to know Tyler and his personality, the way he played was somewhat similar to me. We're a little different. He's a little stronger, a little taller, but some similarities in the way we played. I think more of the similarities came in our personalities.
Totally
really competitive. And I've, gotten to get pretty close with him and his family, and but just types like things like that, where when you go to Marquette, and for me in our group and our team having success, I think it resonates with the players, and there's respect there. And obviously for me, I told them, I spoke to the team a few weeks ago. I told them, like, as former players, we kind of live through them now because my race is over. I don't have. But I, tune in and watch them play, and it gives us a lot of pride and joy to watch them compete and play. And
Totally.
I think for people that have gone to school here, for the students here, it's a lot of pride in going to Marquette, whether it's the basketball team, whether that's anything, whether it's in journalism, or you take pride in where you go to school and where you spend, these are probably the most important years of young people's lives.
Absolutely. It feels like every stop you've had, a theme I've heard is this community and family, that some level of support, something that you feel. Are you seeking that out, or is that coming to you in a sense of like, is that something you look for right away when you're making a stop, whether it be working here, playing, or is that something that you know right away that you feel when you get there? That's clearly something that speaks to you of, I need to have this level of community involved with it.
Yeah, I think it comes from my childhood, the closeness with not just my parents, my sisters, but my cousins, and it's just something that's been ingrained in me. So I think it goes both ways. I think I seek it out, maybe not even consciously, but every decision I've ever made, that was a big one. Those are the kind of the questions I ask myself. Well, do I want to sign in this place for more money, or do I want to stay with this coach or this group of players, or do I want to stay? So it's always really important to me to be to try to be happy with the decisions I'm making. A lot of that has to do with how comfortable I am. I kind of, the older I've gotten, I know who I am better than I ever have. And so the most important things are what situations can I put myself in that I know I'm going to be, that's going to give me the greatest joy. And that could be sacrificing whatever. It could be sacrificing money, it could be sacrificing my own personal happiness for my kids' happiness, or whatever that may be. I try to, put myself in a position where relationships and community and family really, really, truly matter.
I love that.
One aspect I want to talk about too, with when it comes to the players that you're working with and working with families and things like that, are you seeing that dynamic change now when, like you said, this whole NIL world changes month to month, or could change, in a week, something could break that would change how players get compensated. Are you seeing the families kind of act in that sort of agent role sometimes when you talk to a student and you want to say, like, we really think you're going to be a great fit for this team, but you see that intervention of somebody outside of that school-to-player relationship where they say, well, don't go with them because they don't have any major brands that they're working with or anything like that. Like, do you see that kind of outside intervention now?
Yeah, I think everyone's trying to get their hands in on kids and take advantage of student athletes for their own personal gain. And I think that's always been the case. You got to pick the right people to be around, the right people to represent you. I think nowadays there's obviously a lot more money involved, so you got to be really cautious. Now anyone can represent anybody, it seems, without even a law degree. So it's you got to be very careful on if you're making money and substantial money and who you're signing with and what that contract looks like. And unfortunately, a lot of guys get taken advantage of. I think we're doing a great job of, getting the correct information to student athletes and their parents. And Shaka does a great job of recruiting these kids. And they're coming from really high character families. And so that really hasn't been too big of an issue at all from where I sit.
Yeah, it seems like right now, and the last thing you just mentioned, I do feel like the culture now is definitely reaching out to players who've worn the jersey, who've been there. Shaka quotes you when he says that. What's your relationship right now with the current program, and do you feel like you're able to bring and really bridge that gap from players to former players? And do you feel maybe a responsibility to do that because of how close knit you are here and where you're at? What is that like for you now?
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay somewhat away. I don't want the attention or need the attention. I don't go to every game. I watch every game with my kids, and part of that is I have kids, so I'm running around chasing them around. But he asks, I'll come around. I have a really good relationship with Shaka and the players. Through NIL, I would see them quite a bit. I think that's going to die down because I'm not going to be involved as much as we just talked about with the revenue sharing. But like I said before, like Marquette has been so influential for me in this community that I'd be doing a disservice to myself if I wasn't, outwardly trying to help the next generation, the players, whatever I could do to help this university keep on growing and getting better.
What was it like to represent Marquette in the basketball tournament I know that it's been a little while, but that experience for you and really getting together with those guys, did I feel like you had that community back, and obviously hitting a shot to win a lot of money for a lot of players? What was that euphoria in a way for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was it made me feel young again. It was it was during COVID. Nothing else was really going on in sports. The scenario was really weird to think about now. We're quarantined in a hotel when we won. It was a huge convention hotel. We were the only people in the hotel, so it was really eerie at times. But I was on the team. I was the oldest guy. The coach of the team was younger than me, and then there was players on the team that I coached at Marquette when I spent 3 years here. So at times I felt like I was the grandpa, but made me feel young. The opportunity to compete again and win, and I think a lot of people from Marquette got a chance to watch it because it was the only thing on TV at that time. It was in the middle of COVID, and it's the first kind of live sporting event that happened. And the fact that we got a chance to win and celebrate and maybe put a smile on people's faces that had gone through this this pandemic was really cool for me. And more people come up to me about that than anything else. So it's like, I did play it like that a long time ago, but a lot of people watched, and it obviously naturally it makes you feel good.
Well, you forced an injury. I twisted my ankle because I jumped when you did it. So I'll send you the bill for that from the hospital. But it is true, and you could feel, I think, when that team got interviewed and just hearing from them, you could just feel how happy they were to be back. And I think that's telling, and frankly, a theme, for you kind of throughout your life of what you've been looking for. But what's next for you as you're here? I know obviously NIL things are changing, and you're really kind of in a different part of your career. What are your interests now? And thinking Monday through Friday for Travis now. Where's your time spent?
Yeah, well, so during COVID, I was approached by a guy, and he wanted me to go into business with him. And so we built a sports facility up in Mequon where I live. And so this facility has basketball, volleyball, indoor soccer, strength performance, and sports health. So I'm there, pretty much every day. We run, tournaments, camps, leagues. So that's been really good for me because at my core, I just love basketball. So this is giving me a chance to train the next generation. I get to be around my kids who play basketball and coach them and train them. So, I'm still in the gym, just in a different capacity, and it's been awesome because a lot of guys don't find something that they can transition to when they're done playing and playing for a long time. I got to play basketball professionally for 12 years. So what's the next step? And this has been great for me. And at times I miss playing, obviously, because I am super competitive, but this is keeping me in the gym and being around the game and trying to help, whether it's a little girl or a little boy, achieve something.
And maybe not let them win, stuff a couple with the basket.
Nobody's going to win.
One thing I think too, because you have been a model of how to not only play professionally, but then transition to life after playing professionally. Have you had any current students or, guys that are on their way out of the Marquette program ask you or approach you about how do I do this? What is the next step?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of former players see not even the success, the joy that I have in being there, and they come and they see the gym and they see the trainings, and they're maybe 2-3 years out of retiring, and they're now they're starting to think what's next. And we all do it as athletes. You think you're inevitable, that it's going to go on forever, and then finally realize, well, geez, I'm done soon. What am I going to do? So, and naturally the next steps are coaching, training, maybe broadcasting. But those are the natural steps for a lot of athletes. How do we still stay involved with basketball? So yeah, I've had conversations with a handful of players that are kind of on their way out of playing. And then, probably every year it's going to be, people are going to be done playing, and I'll probably have more of those conversations.
That's great. I feel like you have a very solid work ethic, right? To do all these things too. And who maybe a player or a coach really instilled, or someone that you looked at of that's the way I want to do things? Maybe all your stops, college into the NBA, were there certain players that stuck out or coaches that stuck out of really just a model of how to show up to work and do it, and get things done?
Yeah, I mean, my cousin was one of them. I played high school with my cousin. He's my best friend. He's the same age. His focus and work, he ended up playing professionally overseas. He played at DePaul actually, so we got to compete against him every year, twice a year. Went 6-2 against him, and then played him twice overseas and beat him both times. So I can.
Well, you're not counting, so
Yeah,
that's good.
I'm definitely counting. But he had an incredible work ethic. Steve Novak had a great work ethic. Knew what he did well and just consistently did it over and over again. And Coach Crane obviously was super influential. My father, my uncle in high school, and then like I said, that coach I had in Italy really gave me a different outlook on how to play. He was really laid back, and it's something I got more joy out of playing for him and everything that came with it than I ever had before. I think I was really super intense, and he brought out something totally different in me, and it made me a better teammate, a better leader, and I'm really truly thankful that I played for him for 7 years.
That's awesome. And as I'm thinking, you've played on a lot of winning teams too, right? And has there been a theme for some of these teams that you've been on that, as I'm thinking of students here that, we're working with teams or whatever experiences they may have, what are some of the things that have resonated throughout that you can see as commonalities between maybe it's the 03 team, NBA team you played on winning in Italy? What characteristics or qualities have stuck out that you've been like, that you'd have to have this, or this was something that was so critical for us to accomplish what we accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer to start with is there's got to be a little talent. You have to have talent, whatever you do. And then you have to have a togetherness to get better and unselfishness. What made our 03 team really great, not just good, was, Dwayne was our best player, but he was also super unselfish. So, he could easily been a really selfish player. And if he is, we're not nearly as good. But when your best player is super unselfish, it kind of resonates through everybody. And I think the leadership at the top, and not so to speak the coaching, but coaching is incredibly important, but the leadership within the team. Ultimately, it's going to be the players that are on the court that are going to be making plays and holding each other accountable, I think is really important. So I think that togetherness, holding each other accountable, and then the unselfishness are all the things that, that group had, but any team that I've played on that was worth a damn, they had those qualities.
Totally. So as you're thinking back to 18-year-old Travis, who, just picked between 5 schools and landed on this one and is about to embark on this journey, if you had a 2-minute pep talk with that Travis, what types of things would you tell him about what to be prepared for? I don't want to say like advice, but just, what would that motivational talk look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think when you're younger, you care way too much what other people think. I think I've gotten to a point now where I care what they think, but I'm going to do, it comes across as selfish. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to act a certain way. I'm going to treat people with respect. I think early on in my career, I was a really tough teammate at times. I was really hard on myself, so that naturally I was really hard on my teammates. I think as I got older, I learned to appreciate all that it entails. It can't just be like wins and losses, and that's how your mood is going to be. I think having kids gave me the proper perspective on what is most important. And so not taking things so seriously when I was younger, and then, not caring so much what people think. And in today's day and age with social media, and if you are in a spotlight and you are playing, high-level college basketball, it can be very, very dangerous. And I don't know how I would have reacted with social media back then, but I probably can guarantee I wouldn't have been mature enough to be able to handle it.
No doubt. Yeah. When you look back on your student career, what is your favorite non-basketball memory? Something that really stuck out for years, nothing to do with the program, but maybe a teacher or a class or something that really stuck out to you that wow, I took that away as being a really unique perspective from.
Yeah, the dean of communications was Dr. Gary Meyer, and he kind of took a look after me. And I struggled early in my career here academically. I started off in business, and with the my time management was really poor at the time, and it was really hard. Business was really hard for me, and then on top of that, practices and Coach Crean was incredibly demanding. I transitioned to the communication side. He kind of always took a look after me and helped me realize how to get better and how to manage my time. And I remember having meetings with him. So he was probably the most influential person I had that was non-basketball related.
Totally. And I think a big theme of that is when in doubt, be a communications major. We did that. Worked out pretty well for us.
Worked out for us.
Yeah, I actually was a business major and I was like, hell no. I'm not. Everyone's in macroeconomics. I'm over here trying to get that B in comp studies. So here we are. I did well in school. I'm kidding. But,
We did okay.
Yeah,
Well, we would like to thank you for not only being...
I have one more question.
Yes.
I have to ask this. So think back to 2017 and you're here at Marquette and it's homecoming week. And Marquette had a homecoming back in 2017, and there's bed races going on in 2017. You took second place in those bed races.
Did you take first?
To a team that was captained by, I'm not going to raise my hand, but how did that feel to lose to a guy who looks like me?
Did you invite him on this podcast just to talk
This was
trash?
a really petty invite.
I don't know. What is bed racing like? Is that something that you
Don't dwindle this. Yes, you have to. I ran with a bed. It was athletic. So I beat Travis in an athletic competition back in 2017, and
I do remember the bed race. I do not remember. I remember losing. I did not know you were the captain of that.
I was, yeah, and it's on my resume, so everyone knows now. No, but seriously, Alan, I'll let you.
I was going to say, well, bed races aside, thank you for doing this. Thanks for being part of this. Thank you again to 707 Hub for working with us here at Hustling Sideways as well. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on all of the social medias as well, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all of those places. So,
Social media.
Yeah, we have to do it. It's the world now.
I get it.
Shameless plug.
But my 13-year-old is probably on all those. Well, not LinkedIn, and definitely not Facebook.
Well,
But the other cool ones,
but
right?
we're there, so you can subscribe to the podcast there. So
That's right.
thank you so much for doing this. And Jim,
Keep on hustling.
all right.
And that's it. We're going to do